London Uncovered. As we are moving on to a new episode, and today we are talking about the power of forgiveness. Yes, we all have experienced being wronged by someone, and forgiving a person who has wronged us is never easy. But dwelling in the suffering of the past means that we make ourselves prisoners without bars. Forgiveness turns hurt and anger into healing and peace. Research shows there are two sides to forgiveness, one decisional and the other emotional. Decisional forgiveness involves a conscious choice to replace ill will with goodwill. It means that we no longer wish bad things to happen to the individual who has hurt us. It is found that this is often quicker and easier to accomplish, whereas the emotional forgiveness is much harder and takes longer, for it's common for those hurt feelings to return on a regular basis. So what are the health benefits of forgiveness? Studies show that forgiveness is associated with lower levels of depression, anxiety, and hostility, reduced substance abuse, higher self-esteem, and greater life satisfaction. Yet we all know that forgiving people is not always easy. Experts at the Harvard University suggest that one of the best ways to practice forgiveness is with the REACH method. Yes, REACH stands for recall, empathize, altruistic give, commit, and hold. Recall is the first step, and it is to recall the wrongdoings in an objective way. Empathize the next. Try to understand the other person's point of view regarding why he or she hurt us. Next, the altruistic gift. This step is about addressing your own shortcomings. Then comes commit. It means to commit ourselves to forgive. And finally, hold. It means hold on to your forgiveness. For forgiveness is not an eraser. Rather, it's about changing a reaction to those memories. It is important to remember that we cannot control others, but we can control our own choices. And to get more comfortable with forgiveness is to practice small acts in everyday life. The age-old discovery of forgiveness, as someone said, is forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. For that is the only way to happiness. For not forgiving someone is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So let's go and see what people have to say about it. Good morning, Peter.
Morning, Sanjay. Morning, everybody.
Tell us, what does forgiveness mean to you?
Forgiveness to me is about breaking chains. So I think we're all embedded in chains of bad stuff that has happened. You can think of somebody who's hurt you in the past. Well, probably somebody hurt them before that, and somebody hurt them before that. And people generally do bad stuff because they're being squeezed from all sides. And forgiveness is saying, I'm going to stop that chain from passing through me. I'm going to break that chain so that the bad things that other people have done to me, I am not going to pass them on.
Why is forgiveness so important?
Well, it's important for two things. It's important for you because if you pass on the bad things that have been done to you to other people, then you keep the chains of pain going, and your children and your family and those who work with you will feel it. And so it's important to do it for yourself, but it's important to do it for everybody else as well. You need to not pass that pain on, because otherwise you're going to make other people's life a misery. So it will chew you up inside, and it will chew other people up inside. But of course, as a priest, I know that forgiveness is much, much easier to do when you know that you yourself have been forgiven by Christ.
What message would you give to the world, Peter?
I would say forgiveness is stopping pain and misery in its tracks. People think it means that you have to be nice to the person, that you have to like the person that you forgive, that you have to be all best friends again. It's not that at all. It's simply saying, I am not going to pass the sin on. I'm not going to pass the pain on to somebody else. It stops with me. And in Christian sense, it stops with you, because really it stops with Jesus, and Jesus holds you.
Peter, that was illuminating. Thank you very much.
God bless.
Good morning, Jamie.
Morning, Sanjay.
Tell us, what does forgiveness mean to you?
Oh, forgiveness is hard. Forgiveness is very hard when we have to extend it to others, but it all starts with God extending it to us. I've just been preaching about King David and how he messed up monumentally in his life. He had everything, but he lost it. He blew it. And I mean, if you read the story in the book of Samuel, you'll see it's extraordinary what he got wrong. But he experienced the forgiveness of God eventually. He needed to repent, and we see in Psalm 51, if you get a chance, have a read of that. That's David crying out for God's forgiveness. It's only when we receive God's forgiveness that then we can extend it to other people, because we know what it feels like.
So why is forgiveness so important?
Forgiveness is important because it's like poison, is unforgiveness, bitterness, rage, anger, the stuff that we hold inside. It poisons us. And actually, I heard a great quote about that. It said, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. It's the only person that suffers when we don't forgive is ourselves. So you could say that to forgive others is actually a very selfish act, because it helps us. It frees us.
What message would you give to the world?
I would say pray and say to God, forgive me. That's the starting point. And then it's only then that we can forgive other people and we can pray. And that's not going to be an easy thing, but it's a choice. And we say, this person's done me wrong, this person has really hurt me, but I'm choosing right now to let them go, to let them be free, because God's forgiven me and I can forgive others.
Jamie, that was touching. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ajay.
Morning, Chris.
Morning.
Tell us, what does forgiveness mean to you?
I I think there's two ways. I mean, it's very easy to sort of say, yeah, apology accepted, and then it's all sort of done and dealt with. But I believe sort of if you was to have an argument or any sort of altercation, there's got to be an end to it, whether you sort of disagree or you or you both apologise to each other and say, look, I'm sorry, okay, I forgive you, let's put it all under the table. I think it's very easy to forgive, but not very easy to forget any sort of things that happen. But again, it's best to talk it through with them, talk it through with somebody else, get it off your chest, don't let it burrow inside you.
So why is forgiveness so important?
Well, you can just move on, can't you? But it still plays a part in your mind. It all depends on the situation. Like sort of, you know, do I forgive my missus for forgetting to get a pint of milk at the shop? Or it could be something completely huge. It all depends on sort of, you know, the situation of what it is, really.
What message would you give to the world, Chris?
Forgive, but sometimes don't forget.
Chris,
It could be handy in the future.
it's been a pleasure. Thank
No
you.
worries.
Good morning, Tom.
Morning, Sanjay.
Tell us, what does forgiveness mean to you?
Forgiveness is a bit of a two-way street, isn't it? So if somebody wrongs you or slights you and you feel aggrieved, and it gets to a certain stage where there's animosity there, you would hope that they would forgive you for your whatever you said. But and then conversely, if they say something that affects you in some way, you would hope that they would forgive you in the end. So there's always that symmetry with forgiveness. And also, I think that I've done plenty of things in the past where I know that I'm doing wrong, but the red mist ascends and you can't help yourself. You know, you say things that you don't mean. And I haven't had a chance in some circumstances to ask for forgiveness from that person, whether it be they've moved away or circumstances have kept us apart. So it's important to forgive yourself as well when you're in these scenarios where you've wronged somebody. So that's kind of what my thoughts are on that.
So how do you forgive someone?
In the heat of the moment, you're not going to be very forgiving because normally, normally there's a conflict that happens in order for you to forgive somebody. So the important thing is, you need to calm down after a little while. That may take, a little while, a few days or, a few weeks. And then once you've got to that stage where you can process the altercation, the disagreement, whatever it is, the conflict, that's when you can start to accept and forgive that person or people for what they've done to you. When you've got that reflection on what's happened. So you have to allow yourself that space and time to forgive. And when you forgive, do it sincerely and honestly, because there's no point in just doing it for the sake of appearances. You have to mean it.
What message would you give to the world, Tom?
Just try and get along with each other. We don't have to argue and fight. Just sometimes it's just good to take a pause, take a minute. If you're going to say something that is going to upset that person, just take a minute and think, oh, maybe I could word that phrase differently so that it's not going to affect that person so much.
Tom, thank you once again.
You're welcome, Sanjay.
Good afternoon, Brett.
Good afternoon.
Tell us, what does forgiveness mean to you?
Well, forgiveness, it means, let me see, taking someone aside and saying that it's okay and not taking anything any further if they've done you a wrong or you think they've done you a disservice or anything like that. It's, trying to get over things and not make a big thing out of it,
Why is forgiveness so important?
Well, it helps get on. It helps get people keep moving. It helps bring people together, and it also helps sort of bring communities together and all sorts of things. You know, you should forgive. You know, forgive your neighbour and that kind of thing.
What message would you give to the world?
I would say to the world, stay safe, take care.
Brett, that was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
As we come to the end of this episode, and we've been talking about the power of forgiveness. And yes, the Harvard researcher and physician George Vaillant describes forgiveness as one of the 8 positive emotions that keep us connected with our deepest selves and with others. He considers these positive emotions to be key ingredients that bind us together in our humanity. And they include love, hope, joy, compassion, faith, awe, and gratitude. Research shows that developing stronger positive emotions support us in leading healthier, happier, and more connected lives. When we forgive and develop these other positive emotions, we become less encumbered by the scars of the past. And Alexander Pope puts it beautifully when he says, "To err is human, to forgive divine."